Okay, we're going to talk about the Louisiana Purchase, and we're actually going to split this up into two parts. You've all heard of Lewis and Clark, have you not? They get all the way to the Pacific, but we're going to lecture on all the way to the Pacific and have a quiz, and then we're going to lecture on all the way back, and then we're going to have another quiz. Okay, so this will be the Louisiana Purchase Part 1, and we're talking about doubling the nation's size under President Jefferson. Now, does anybody want to guess this area of Louisiana, which is basically all of this, who owned this when Thomas Jefferson took over the presidency? What country? Spain. A lot of people think France did because Napoleon sold it to us. But Napoleon, by the time Jefferson got to be president, he had secured the area we know as Louisiana from Spain. So it was a Spanish possession forever. But then Napoleon secured that area in North America from the country of Spain. And at this time it was 820,000 square miles. An enormous amount of land. 820,000 square miles. Here's what we own at this time, right, kiddos? To the Mississippi. This is thus the subtopic, doubling the nation's size. This area is again as big as this. So if we can secure Louisiana, we are going to double the nation's size in one purchase. Okay? So 820,000 square miles is what Louisiana covered at this time. Now, why would that concern, I'm really going to be impressed you can pick this up. Why is Jefferson concerned and almost alarmed that all of a sudden now this area right here belongs to France and not Spain? Somebody really impressed me. Yes, Cole. What's that? Well, it wasn't we didn't get along.
Was it during the time when we were conquering Europe and all that, and so we were scared because we didn't want them to get control of that and then conquer us.
Those are good guesses, but actually we weren't that afraid of France. We really liked when Napoleon took over. Okay, we didn't like the old French government. So you got the right idea, but there's one specific reason. If anybody can get it, I'll give you 5 points extra credit. Why was Jefferson alarmed that all of a sudden France controlled Louisiana, not Spain? Go ahead, you go first. You start.
The deal we had with Spain about the Mississippi River.
What was that called?
My
God, you're going to impress me so much today. Right of, there you go. That's the exact answer. We had an agreement to use the right of deposit with Spain, not France. And how crucial was that to us? That was the biggest deal with our peace treaty with Spain that you had on your test, right? So all of a sudden, the news of Louisiana being a French possession alarmed President Thomas Jefferson because we had the right of deposit of controlling the Mississippi through New Orleans with Spain, not France. So what do you think Jefferson decided he was going to try to do to get this right of deposit back? He was going to buy it. Very good, he was going to buy it. So because of this, President Jefferson made the decision to try to buy the right of deposit from Napoleon in France. So he sent a diplomat by the name of Robert R. Livingston, who's definitely going to be one the matching, Robert R. Livingston to France to meet with Napoleon and try to buy the right of deposit. So, again, the news of Louisiana being a French possession alarmed President Thomas Jefferson. Remember, we had the right of deposit negotiated with Spain, but not France. And because of this, President Jefferson made the decision to try and buy that right of deposit from Napoleon in France. So he sends a diplomat by the name of Robert R. Livingston, and I would highlight that, to France to meet with Napoleon. Now Jefferson is actually trying to buy two things. He wants to buy the city of New Orleans. If he buys the city of New Orleans, what's he buy? The right of deposit. He's not trying to buy all of Louisiana. all he's trying to buy is New Orleans, and he also wants western Florida. He wants this area right here. This little, what do you call that, a panhandle? He wants just this area, western Florida, and only New Orleans. That's all he's wanting to buy. And he gives Livingston permission to give Napoleon $10 million for those two areas, which would be about $189 million today. Okay? So he being Jefferson, sends Robert R. Livingston to France, and he's going to try to buy the port city of New Orleans and western Florida for a sum of $10 million. That's what he wants. Western Florida, yeah. Now, if we secure those two areas, right, because these are already our possessions, but Florida, remember, belonged to who? Spain, who now belongs to France. So this will really give us control of the Mississippi River if we have this area here, western Florida, the southern part of Alabama and Mississippi, which we already had, and the port city of New Orleans. He's trying to guarantee that, right? So he offers him $10 million. Well, after listening to Livingston's offer of $10 million for New Orleans and western Florida, Napoleon says to Livingston, if you'll give me $10 million for New Orleans and western Florida, how much will you give me for all of Louisiana? The whole schmeal. Western Florida, New Orleans, and all of this. 820,000 square miles. Well, this takes time, by the way. Livingston's got to get back to Jefferson, and Jefferson said to offer him $15 million for all of it, which would be $283 million today. It says offering 15 for the whole thing. Yep. 15, 15, which is a good question because you thought maybe Napoleon would have wanted a lot more than that if you're going to give him 10 for those two little areas. But Jefferson said, let's offer him 15 million for the whole thing, which would be about 283 million today. Surprisingly, Napoleon agrees. Now, have any of you guys seen that commercial on Capital One where the guys are all arguing, the guy's got his phone out and he hears a ding and he goes over, oh, we've made the purchase, and it was $14,999,999.99. You ever seen that commercial? It comes up every once in a while. It's just kind of a spoof off to what they paid for that entire area. So they paid $15 million for all of Louisiana. Now, obviously they had to borrow the money to do that. So, you know anything about, like, if I borrow money for a car, $20,000, they're going to charge me interest, so I'm probably going to pay like $30,000 really for the car because the bank's going to make money. Well, of the $15 million that we paid for Louisiana, what we actually paid, kiddos, with interest was this. That's what we actually paid, $27,267,622 after we paid the interest. Anybody in here farmers? Any farmers in here? Landowners? You have no landowners in here. Not any? How much if I wanted to go buy an acre of farmland in Warland, what would it cost me? You should know this, Benson. You're kind of into that, aren't you? How much? I don't know the answer to this. So, do you know what it would cost maybe for an acre of land? What would you say? Well, like just farmland out here. What would you think?
I mean, we sold 2 acres on South Flat.
Yeah, well,
that wasn't farm property.
Yeah, farm property is probably going to be.
Double.
I mean, it all depends where you're at. Bozeman, you buy an acre of land, it costs you $300,000. I mean, it'd probably range anywhere from what you're saying, about $5 grand, to who knows what. Well, when you figure out what we paid for it, it was 3 cents an acre. We paid 3 cents an acre for Louisiana. That's what the United States did. 3 pennies per acre, if you can believe that. 3 cents an acre. Now, William, why in the world, think about this everybody, why in the world, William, would he sell us all of that land for 3 cents an acre? Why would Napoleon do that? Well, kind of. You're close. Yeah, what's he need money for? Remember, what's he doing in Europe?
Taking over.
Yeah, remember he's trying to conquer all of Europe, and he says, he's thinking to himself, well, let me think about this. We got all this land over here in North America, which I'm really not interested in, but we have it. And if I go to war in Europe, A, I need money to fight that war, and B, if I'm not paying attention to that land over there while I'm in war in Europe, what's going to happen to that land? Somebody's going to take it. So he figures $15 million is better than nothing. So that's the only reason he sells it. Yes, Cole?
If you go across seas, why don't we just take the land in the first place?
Well, because we didn't want to get it. Remember, we don't have the best military at this time.
Does that mean he would have took, like, we could have got those 2 states for a lot less if that's what he wanted overall?
Maybe. I mean, that's a very good question. We're the ones that said we'll give you $10 million for New Orleans and Western Florida. And he's thinking, I'm just surprised he didn't ask for $50 million. You know what I mean? But I think he was eager to get rid of it. He had $15 million in his hand. He needed to fight the war in Europe, and he thought he needed the money. So we were just in the right place at the right time. So when he's fighting all of Europe, he's going to end up having to fight who? Eventually. Great Britain. Well, that's going to cost you some money, and that's why he sold it. Now, moving on then, we're going to talk about the Corps of Discovery, which is really a fancy name for the Lewis and Clark Expedition. Okay? It's called the Corps of Discovery. The Lewis and Clark Expedition. What led to this? Why in the world did we have a Lewis and Clark Expedition, Cesar?
To basically adventure the land that we bought.
Well, see what we paid for. We have no clue what we bought here. All we know is we got a heck of a lot of land over here. But nobody had been much west of the Mississippi. So Lewis and Clark Expedition, or the Corps of Discovery, was set up because Thomas Jefferson wanted to see, as Cesar said, exactly what we paid $15 million for. Nobody had really been that way before. Okay? Here's what he wanted to know. First of all, we knew nothing about the area's natural resources, did we? But Jefferson was smart enough to know that, well, gee whiz, we really got some good natural resources here. Now we got all this land here. I'll bet you there's all kinds of natural resources over here that would benefit the United States of America. So first of all, he wants to find out about the vast natural resources because they're a mystery to us. Now another thing was kind of weird is there were all kinds of rumors about that area, that there were mastodons and unicorns and woolly mammoths. I mean, nobody knew anything about this area. And the rumors in the eastern side of the Mississippi is there's all kinds of really strange animals over here. Mastodons and unicorns and woolly mammoths. I mean, they had all kinds of rumors. So they kind of wanted to see what the wildlife looked like, west of the Mississippi. What else was the rumor that lived in that area that maybe would be a little violent? Indian tribes. So we had heard rumor of hostile and violent Indian tribes in that area. And Jefferson really wanted to find out, if we're going to expand this into the United States, we got to figure out what's over here. What are we going to be dealing with? Are we going to be dealing with woolly mammoths and dinosaur type creatures? Are we going to be dealing with hostile Indian tribes? And what kind of natural resources are over there? Because, man, that would really help us in the long run. So, it was Thomas Jefferson that formed an expedition called the Corps of Discovery. So to gain this valuable information, President Jefferson formed an expedition and called it the Corps of Discovery. Most of you know it as the Lewis and Clark Expedition. Now, there were 2 reasons why we wanted to send this expedition. One we mentioned, to explore and study what we had purchased, right? What was the other reason he sent an expedition out? Anybody know? Yes, Mrs. Montoya.
To make a map of that area.
And he wanted to find specifically a what?
Northwest Passage.
A water route to the Pacific Ocean known in American history as the Northwest Passage, which is on your ID sheet. So there are 2 reasons really why this expedition was formed. Obviously, to explore and study the Louisiana Territory, to find out what we spent $15 million for, and to squelch some of these rumors we had heard about that area. But the second reason is Jefferson wanted maps made and he wanted to find a water route from the Mississippi River, which we were familiar with, to the Pacific Ocean, which we had heard of. Could we travel by water that distance? And that water route will become known in American history as the Northwest Passage. Now, anybody you guys go on a vacation this summer? I went to Spokane for 3 weeks. Anybody go on a lengthy vacation? Ollie, did you?
I went to Ecuador.
Where'd you, really? Did your family go with you or just you?
My mom.
Okay, I don't want to be personally, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but that was kind of an expedition, wasn't it, to Ecuador? How much did that cost you? What would you
For
guess?
like one person, I think it was like 5,000 or 6,000.
Okay, so I'm going to guess,
Altogether.
I'm guessing with you and your mom, did maybe, we won't say, maybe $15,000 for everything you did? 12,000, okay, 12,000 bucks. You know what they budgeted for this Lewis and Clark expedition? You know how much they budgeted, how much they were going to spend on this expedition at the time? $2,500. That was the budget, which today's would be about $47,000. Ollie and her mom spent $12,000 to go to Ecuador for how many days?
9.
9. These guys have a budget of basically $47,000 in today's term, right? To be over there for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? So it was not much of a budget. It was $2,500, which is about $47,000 in today's dollars. So they didn't really throw out the dough. You know what I mean? Yes.
Do they just use that money to buy them a bunch of stuff to take?
And we're going to talk about that. That's exactly right.
Because they couldn't like take the money within the
No, that's exactly right. He's exactly right. Now, you probably know this, but we're going to go through it anyway. President Jefferson first chose Meriwether Lewis of Virginia to lead the Corps of Discovery. So it was Meriwether Lewis that is chosen by President Jefferson to be the overall leader of this expedition. You can't have more than one leader. One person's got to eventually make the decisions. So Jefferson chooses Meriwether Lewis of Virginia to lead the Corps of Discovery. At this time, Lewis was only 28 years old. A lot of people picture him as being older than that. He was only 28 years old. How old is Philip Nelson these days? 24 or 5, maybe, I don't, yeah, so he wouldn't be much older than Philip doing this thing. Yeah, 28 years old. He was a very skilled soldier. He was also a very skilled woodsman. Very skilled soldier and woodsman. So is this technically a military operation to a point? Sure. Okay, so he was a very skilled soldier and a skilled woodsman. And you know what he was doing at the time he was chosen by President Jefferson? He was serving as his chief aide, kind of his right-hand person. Okay? He was the president's chief aide. We actually have a chief aide. President Trump has a White House chief aide, the guy that aids him in anything he's right at his disposal. Well, way back even then, Jefferson had an aide, chief aide, and that was Meriwether Lewis. Now, once Lewis was chosen, then he chose a fellow Virginian by the name of William Clark to assist him with the expedition. He was kind of the assistant coach, and Meriwether Lewis was the head coach. So Meriwether Lewis, once he's officially chosen to lead the Corps of Discovery, he chooses fellow Virginian William Clark to assist him. And Clark is 32 years old. He was also a very skilled Army soldier, actually was a commander of an army, very well versed, and he was very good at making what? That they wanted to bring back? Maps. He was a very skilled map maker. That was why he picked him. So Meriwether Lewis chose a fellow Virginian by the name of William Clark to assist him in the expedition. And Captain Clark, who was also military, was a former Army commander and a very, very skilled map maker. Anybody know how many men originally took off to be in the Corps of Discovery? How many total men were? Anybody want to guess? 45. The Lewis and Clark expedition started with 45 men, including William Clark's Negro slave, York. So the Corps of Discovery originally consisted of 45 men, including William Clark's Negro slave, York. They were more friends than they were slave and owner. He had known York since they were kids. I'm sure it was a family slave. And they became friends. And so even though York was officially William Clark's slave, he didn't treat him like a slave. He treated him like a friend. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you 10 examples of equipment that Colt mentioned that were taken on the expedition where a lot of that $2,500 was spent. This is the type of things they took with them. Okay? These are the type of things they took with them. They took 15 54 caliber rifles. You can look at that in case you're not a rifle person. 54 caliber rifles. 15 54 caliber rifles. And enough gunpowder to defend a fort. They really piled in the gunpowder. Anybody shot a 50 caliber weapon before? Big bore? Yeah, they can put a hole in you, can't they? What have you shot? Okay, how about you?
50 caliber.
Yeah, there you go. They'll give you a kick. I got a 45-70, which is a Henry's. It's a 45 caliber, which is smaller. And you can shoot it about 4 times at the rifle range, and you're done. I mean, that's just kind of where you're at, because they give you a kick, unless you prepare yourself better. But I'm going to guarantee you, these guys didn't have the padded stocks on theirs and all these. These are big guns. 54 caliber rifles and enough gunpowder to defend the fort. Second thing they took were 500 rifle flints. F-L-I-N-T-S.
How many?
500 rifle flints. Now, you will know this. Because you'll know this because okay, what is a flint?
So back then it was a flint lock on the hammer of the rifle that had a little piece of flintstone, so you shot it and make sparks fire the rifle.
Fire the gunpowder. Exactly right.
And then place the flint or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a piece of stone.